Welcome back to Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden. I'm your host, Jeanniey Walden. I created Liftoff so that people like you and me could get the information we need to make the most of our personal and professional lives. I call it work-life blend. So let's have some fun. And I'm going to bet you learn at least 3 new things you didn't know before you tuned in today. So who's in? You better be in because we are so excited to welcome our next guest on Liftoff. I cannot believe the words coming out of my mouth. The one, the only, Jay Leno. Jay recently appeared at the Bergen Performing Arts Center in Englewood, New Jersey. Jay participated in the festivities by attending the private reception at Benzel-Busch Mercedes-Benz dealership and drove the AMG EQS sedan to cut the ribbon at Bergen Pack before his 8 p.m. performance. Sadly, I wasn't able to make the event, but Jay was kind enough to meet with us for the show. I am beyond thrilled to welcome Jay Leno to Liftoff.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time.
For all those entrepreneurs out there listening, what advice do you have for them?
Well, I think you need to be open-minded. We become so less tolerant of there are plenty of people I disagree with politically that I really like as people. We just disagree politically. You know, when I started this game show, You Bet Your Life, I sold it on the premise of there'll be comedy, but no politics at all. And people seem to like that. I've done that in live shows too. When people come to my live show, it's just comedy. You know, Rodney Dangerfield and I were good friends. I knew Rodney 40 years. I have no idea who he voted for. I don't know if he's a Democrat or Republican. I don't care because we just talked about stupid jokes all the time and we laughed all the time. And that's what's the fun part. And a lot of times I'll see, you know, somebody walk out on the game show and I go, oh, boy, I know I'm not going to agree with that guy politically, but I'm not going there. And I find out, well, he's a good father and he's a good provider and he's a nice guy. We just disagree on this issue. That's okay. It's okay to disagree with people, you know.
And like many of us who watch Liftoff, you're an entrepreneur too. As an entrepreneur, how important is work-life balance, or what I call work-life blend, and having a hobby?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an old saying, the heart is healthiest when the hand and the head work together. So during the day, I'd work with my hands, and then at night, I'd work with my head. And one sort of balances out the other. So yeah, I think there's something to that. Because if you just concentrate on the same thing all day, it gets a bit overwhelming, I think. You know, when you can take a break and go to the next thing, then it's like being married. You work all day. Oh, then you go home to your wife at night. Oh, and you and your wife aren't together 24 hours a day. So you appreciate the time that you're apart and you appreciate the time when you're together. So yeah, I think there's something to that.
I know you love cars. What is your favorite car?
You know, I buy the story as much as I buy the car. I mean, I have the 55 Buick I have that I've had. It's the first car I bought when I came to California. In fact, I got off the plane and I went to the newsstand and I bought the Penny Saver, which was one of those, you know, for sale things. And I needed a car and I saw a 55 Buick, $350. I said to somebody, where's Winchester? And they said, well, it's about 6 miles from the airport. Oh, so I got in a cab. I went to Winchester thinking, I'll buy that car. Then I got there and it was okay. And I said, well, I can't afford to drive. I might as well buy this car. So I bought that car. It was a big car and I could sleep in the back seat. So that's what I did. So I lived in that for about a week or two when I got to California. I didn't really have a plan, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Final question. What are your thoughts on electric cars?
I'm a huge fan. I mean, you know, Mark Twain used to say, I like progress. It's change I don't like, you know. And there's something to that. I mean, people think it's still transportation. It's still a car. It's just the method of propulsion is different. No, I'm a huge fan. You know, steam ran everything from 1800s to 1911. From 1911 to now, it was all internal combustion engines. Now you've moved into electrics. And you'll have the other type of cars. There'll still be gasoline cars for easily the next 50 or 60 years. You know, synthetic fuels will come along, something will come along. But at some point, you don't want the whole planet to choke to death, and you got to figure out a way around it. You know, so no, I like technology. I'm a big fan.
This was an honor. Don't go away though, because there is more to come after the break. NFL sports agent Sean Stellato has never backed down from a challenge. Once told skinny kids don't make it in sports full of giants, he defied the naysayers to become the star quarterback at Salem High School during a tumultuous time in the town's history. Sean joins us now to tell us more about triumphs, trials, and how his career experience on and off the field can help anyone wanting to make a change. Welcome, Sean.
Great to be here.
Sean, you have such a fascinating story, and I think so many of our viewers will be able to relate to everything that you're going to talk about today. So tell us about what you faced as challenges early on in your journey and your award-winning book, No Backing Down.
Yeah, it's one thing about football. It's taught me resiliency. At a young age, I was small. I had two older brothers that I looked up to, mom and dad, 8 of us in a 3-bedroom house. So right out of the get-go, I knew my dad stressed hard work and be honorable. And I kind of took that and used that as part of my canvas to, grind, work hard. And the whole football thing was great. It kind of was a euphoria. Football was like a compass. It took me places that I probably would have never went to. And that season, we faced so much adversity, from personal tragedies to the coach defying. Pretty much in a nutshell, he had an opportunity to stay with the kids and coach them, and he decided to do that. There was a vendetta with the superintendent against him, compared him to Jim Jones and David Koresh, which was completely false. So there I intertwined the parallels of the witchcraft trials of 1692, and it's just small town politics, political storm, and I would say divine intervention.
Part of the show, Liftoff, is about work-life blend, and it's about making the most of your personal and professional life. What are your secrets for that?
Yeah, every day I start my day off vertical, not horizontally. And I find that time, whether it's through prayer, meditation, to get right. And then it's a little bit of self-time. I am a workout guru. I eat, sleep, and drink it. I haven't changed since I was, when I started playing soccer at 5 years old. That's part of my lifestyle, whether it's in the dojo, whether it's biking, whether it's running, hitting the weights. And then it's about production. From when I get off that and I'm producing, I'm fielding calls, I'm selling my clients, doing interviews, and making sure I'm blessed. My wife is an amazing cook. I'm probably 5 a.m. to 10 o'clock every night. That's how but then at night, it's balanced with the kids. I don't never miss a bedtime story unless I'm on the road, and I enjoy my family time. It's very important. But it's all a strategic plan every day. Time management, let's face it, we have 86,400 seconds every day. I'm trying to get every ounce. And I tell my kids, when that toothpaste is done, you cut it and use what's inside of it. Just don't. And that's how I approach my day. That's why I'm trying to be that strong male figure in their lives. I'm a girl dad, and they have taught me so many different things. And, my wife's my soulmate. I'm blessed to have someone that's been so committed, and her and I got a connection that enables me, and they bring out the best in me, and I'm blessed for that. So one of my mentors, Tom Dreesen, opened up for Frank Sinatra for 14 years. He taught me something early. He said, attitude is gratitude, and that's something I live by every day. So I'm very fortunate, but I feel like an artificial intelligence company. What I'm doing, we have so much growth and so much, passion in what we're doing, and it's an exciting time to be in this space.
That's really interesting. If you could give one piece of advice to people that are watching this, wishing they could be more like you, loving everything about their personal and their professional life, what would one piece of advice be to get started?
You know what? You got one life. You got to find your bliss. If you don't wake up every morning ready to go, without caffeine, if it's not organic, do something else. Don't conform. Everybody, 90% of the world conforms. Find that bliss and niche, and just never back down. Go for it. And at the end of the day, we're trying to alter history in a nutshell, and that's the mindset. So can't do it alone. Got a great team and resources, but I would just say find your bliss. And when adversity knocks, just bang it out and move forward. Surround yourself with good people, because we all know law of attraction is real. And if you, like Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. And I really believe that. So looking forward to the big screen, hopefully in time with this. And we got a lot of exciting things in the pipeline as well.
Sean, thank you so much for being on Liftoff today.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's been a blast.
You heard it here first. No let up, focus on your dreams, and never back down. Spend time with us learning how to not back down and get even more inspired from the amazing Marie Osmond, who, by the way, still looks so incredible, just like she did in the 1980s. Stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss this. Welcome back. Marie Osmond has spent more than 6 decades in the entertainment business as a singer, talk show host, dancer, actor, author, entrepreneur, and a public speaker. As a philanthropist, she co-founded Children's Miracle Network Hospitals and was recently awarded the Secretary of Defense Medal for Outstanding Public Service. Wow. Marie, what has driven your 40-year passion for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals?
Well, we just kicked it off last week in Orlando. Really, the need was there. I remember being at, I believe it was People's Choice Awards, like 40-something years ago, and they asked if I would do a charity, and John Schneider was with me, my co-founder of the organization. And they said, well, John, you can do it, but Marie, you can't. And I said, why? And they said, because you just did this charity. And it just rubbed me wrong. And come to find out, all these causes, all these different causes that are out there, they have to be treated, and it's in children's hospitals. And so we're different in the sense from any other charity that 100% of the money that's raised stays local in your area, goes to your children's hospital, goes to your kids, 100% of it. And we have unrestricted funding, which means your local hospital may need research. You may have people that need help with the cost, or you may need a neonatal bed or equipment for life flight or whatever it is. That's where the money goes to help your community and your hospital serve you the best way possible. So when you write that check or whatever it is, give $1, just know that all of it, 100%, goes to your local children's hospital.
My dad was an executive at Children's Hospital, and growing up, I was always able to see the impact that he and the work that everyone at the hospital did and had on children's lives and their family. And it was really just endearing and so sweet to just see the smiles on people's faces. Tell us, what impact has Children's Miracle Network Hospitals had on healthcare for children over its 40 years of existence?
You help the kids and change the future is what you do. I mean, I remember when the ECMO machine was invented. I mean, come on, that's saving lives like crazy. We have miracle kids that have come back. This last week we had a kid, Josh Sunquist. He was 9 years old when he had his leg amputated from cancer. There's so many more things they can do now. But Josh spoke. Josh is having, they're having their first child in 2 weeks, and his wife let him go there to talk to all the kids. But Josh went on to be a Paralympian, motivational speaker, author, comedian. These kids, like you said, it's life-changing. Walk into an adult hospital, it's depressing. You walk into a children's hospital and you will never be more motivated in your life than to see what these children go through and conquer. They're just amazing. We help over 12 million children a year. Wow. Statistics prove that about 62 kids or more walk into a children's hospital every minute. That's a little over a child a second. And you start looking at that number times 40 years, it's a lot of kids we've helped. And it's a great feeling to know that.
I'm sure all our viewers want to know what the future holds for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals.
That's a great question. I know statistically that children's hospitals are in greater need than ever. Just from COVID, we have just been told that it's a national state of emergency for children with anxiety and depression. They're both up like 30% or more. My daughter took my grandson in for speech therapy, and they said that it's up 70% because the masks made it so little children never learned to speak. Just all these ramifications, but these hospitals are there. They're for, like I said, the pediatricians, the hospitals train them for your communities and schools and research and prevention. So the need is great. So if you feel generous, I believe people want to give. I just believe they want to know that it's actually going to the cause. And when I tell you that 100% of it goes to your children, I'm telling you, it doesn't get better than that. It's not being sent across the state to another, another hospital or whatever. It's staying in your local area. So it's just so fun to do things. Go to cmn.org, your local area, and you can find out all kinds of things you can do to help.
What a powerful way to help save the lives of so many. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you so much. Fun talking to you.
If you got chills too, get ready, because after the break, our next story is going to bring you to tears. Welcome back. Over a year ago, a good friend of mine, who I thought was calling me from Miami, told me he was actually calling me from Ukraine. When I heard what he and his team were doing there, I knew I had to find a way to support it. I'm so thrilled to introduce Brian Mayer today. He's an executive at a New York-based startup. And a year ago, barely a month into the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Brian took a 10-day vacation and went to the Poland-Ukraine border to coordinate refugee assistance and resettlement and humanitarian supply to Ukraine. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So Brian, I know your story, but for everybody that's watching, what compelled you to get involved in helping everyone in Ukraine?
Well, as you said, I took a vacation to help because I wanted to help. I didn't really know what I was doing out there. And what I found is so much of the effort on the ground in Ukraine is being organized by independent volunteers. And when I say organized, it's self-organized. So there's very few NGOs operating. There's a lot more now. But most of the NGOs operating are operating in the interior of the country, but not close to the front lines, where civilians are in the most desperate need. And so one of the things that we found is getting stuff into Lviv, into Kiev, into the big cities was quite easy. Getting stuff to the front, to Kharkiv at the time, which was just recently liberated from Russian occupation, or any of the other small villages that you probably have heard of in the news, Izium, Liman. These towns were very inaccessible to aid workers that were trying to bring aid in. So as a result, very little aid was getting in. And so we knew we had to do something to help coordinate the delivery of that aid.
Well, it must be so powerful, but I know you also have a day job.
I do.
Part of Liftoff is about work-life blend.
Yes.
Tell me, how do you balance your career and this initiative at the same time?
Well, I love my job, and I do continue to keep my tech job in New York. But there are other hours in the day, and I wanted to spend that time doing something meaningful for a cause that I'm passionate about and care about a lot.
And one of the things that I love most about your story is, as you mentioned, you're not just helping people. You're not just getting food and supplies into a warehouse. You're getting them beyond the front lines to people. And last time we were together, you showed me pictures of Christmas presents being delivered, people on your team dressed up as Santa Claus. You know, what is it like to reach? How hard is it to reach these frontline people and get them the aid and the food and supplies that they need?
Absolutely. So it's very difficult. And this was actually this Christmas was the best Christmas of my life because I actually was there and I was able to dress like Santa Claus and hand out food and aid to the elderly and affirmed and a lot of folks who are still living very close to hostile territory. And their village is in direct threat, but they can't leave for whatever reason. I mean, they're elderly, they're infirmed, a lot of children. And so we were able to bring that Christmas miracle to the town of Liman, which we were very happy about. The general question of how we help and how we do it. So we have an entire team of volunteers in Ukraine run by my co-founder, Liz Olegov, and they are on the front every single week. We do at least 2 or 3 missions a week. We've got vehicles. We coordinate the aid delivery from the big NGOs who take it to the big warehouses and bring it all the way to the front lines. And these villages are very inaccessible. We're talking roads that have been blown out, bridges that have been blown out. And so you have to move things into smaller vehicles. There's an entire logistics operation. It is quite difficult and it's very dangerous. And so the volunteers that are doing this work on the ground are just unbelievable heroes.
How appreciative they must be and how many great relationships your team must be building out there.
Yes, well, more than anything else, we're just so happy to be able to help. And we're so grateful to our donors in the United States and elsewhere all over the world who have donated to support this effort and especially the logistics that it takes to get all this aid out there.
Well, you know, I'm definitely a fan and a supporter, but tell the viewers how they can get involved and help if they want to as well.
Absolutely. So ukraineaidinternational.org, we're 501c3. All donations are tax deductible. All of the donations go directly to support one of the over 100 communities that we're supporting directly on the front lines. Anyone can go in right now and make a donation, and we really appreciate it. Any amount helps.
I am so thrilled to know you, Brian, and to know your story
you.
And to just be able to share it today with everybody. Thank you so much for being on Liftoff.
Thank you for having me, Jeannie. Appreciate it.
Everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back. This past weekend, I went to my favorite fast food restaurant, like always, if you know me, but this time it seemed a little more expensive than usual. Inflation, we are all feeling it. And at a time when more than 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, a lack of knowledge on financial resources and strategy continually prevents so many families and individuals from identifying ways to break free from financial hardship. We mentioned PBS series Opportunity Knocks last month, but Jean Chatzky, finance expert and financial coach, joins us today to tell us more about her show that highlights 6 families, a different way forward for each of them, pairing them with a renowned financial expert to help them take control of their finances. Jean, it is so great to chat with you in person after all these years of sharing insights online. Welcome to Liftoff.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
What is your advice on how you break that cycle of financial stress? Because for some of us, it's just really hard to get out of once you're in it.
Yeah, well, the first thing you have to do is to expect it. The folks at Fidelity did a piece of research where they found that as individuals, we experience 4 stressful life events every single year, and most of them have a money component. And they're not all bad, right? If you think about some things like having a baby or getting a new job, those are very, very stressful, but they're also very positive. And so breaking the cycle requires coming up with a game plan to fight the particular kind of stress that you're under. When we look at stress, and I mentioned fight or flight before, those are usually our 2 reactions. But often in modern society, we run away from these things. We go take a bubble bath. We take a yoga class. We try to get a massage. We do what we can to sort of escape stresses. Doesn't work with finances. You have to fight back. And that means figuring out what is the problem that I'm facing and what steps do I need to take in order to deal with this situation? And then how do I sort of benchmark my way through them?
And you know, I'm a big fan of hermoney.com, and you have such great advice there. What are the top 3 pieces of advice that you would give people that they can do right now to get started moving forward on the right financial foot?
Yeah. And you mentioned at the very top how we're all dealing with prices that are inflated, right? We're spending more than we expected to be spending this year. So that's where I'm going to start. Track your spending. If you can get yourself, even for a month, to look at what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's going, then you have the power to make changes about where you want that money to go. Once you know where the money is going, then you want to either take the money that you are no longer spending, because you now have the power to make changes, and use it to pay down any high interest rate debt. If you've got it, interest rates are continuing to go up, which means that debt is getting more expensive. And having debt, we know, is the most stressful financial situation, particularly high interest rate credit card debt. So once you free up some cash, use it to fund that debt pay down. And finally, if you don't have debt, or even if you do, use some of that money to rebuild your emergency savings if you've used it up, or just to build it if you have never had it in the first place. Once you've got emergency savings, you somehow feel more able to sleep at night and better going through every single day.
That is so true, and I can say that from experience. So outside of your incredible advice, what are the top apps or websites that our viewers can go to help educate themselves on the resources out there?
Well, I will mention one of our tools, which is called Finance Fix. It's an 8-week budgeting program that helps you dig into your data, and people who have gone through this program are finding that they're saving thousands of dollars. So Finance Fix, we spell it with 2 X's, .com. And one of the families on Opportunity Knocks went through the program with great results as well. Apps and budgeting tools, Mint is a really good one. The folks at my Facebook group are pretty obsessed with one called You Need a Budget, or YNAB. It's not free, but it is a really, really good tool.
Bringing the community to be able to help you is really just an insightful idea. We're so excited to watch, Jean. Thanks so much for being on the show and for lending your expertise and helping to change everyone's life for the better.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, stick around. We'll be right back to chat with the founder of one of the hottest professional organizations out there. Did you learn at least 3 new things on this episode? I learned like 100. But we've got one more for you. Before we sign off, I want to introduce you to one of my favorite top professionals, Stephanie Cirami. Stephanie is the president of the International Association of Top Professionals, editor and founder of Tip Magazine and Tip Radio. She's the award-winning best-selling author of Top 50 Fearless Leaders. Welcome to Liftoff, Stephanie.
Oh my God, Jeannie, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so thrilled that you could be here today because I wanted to wrap up the show with some sort of final piece of inspiration. And I'm such a big believer in your organization and what you do and the community that you've built. So tell our viewers a little bit more about the IAOTP.
Sure. So the IAOTP, we're a prestigious global organization. We handpick the world's most brilliant professionals, all different industries, from scientists to doctors, musicians, astronauts, you name it, we have them as part of our collective family. I like to call them our superhero arsenal that we keep. And we get our rock star celebrities over, they're rock stars in their industries already, but we help elevate their brand. We come up with creative marketing ideas. We get them seen on billboards in Times Square. We get them featured in Tip Magazine, which I'm the editor of, and
Nice.
guess who's gracing the front cover in June? So we also have Tip Radio podcast that's hosted by Miss Universe, Michelle McLean. And then we have an annual awards gala every year that recognizes our brilliant professionals, and they get to come on stage and be recognized for the amazing work that they do. And I am so honored to present to you today our Empowered Woman of the Year Award to Miss Jeanniey Walden.
Thank you so much.
We're so honored to have you a part of our IAOTP family. It's my pleasure. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you so much.
All right. We hope you learned something that will help you improve your personal and professional life. I'm going to go and cry right now because I'm so excited about this, but we're not going to stop the show. We've got more amazing experts and tips to bring to you in our next episodes. Be sure to follow us at Liftoff with Jeannie for tons more, and we'll see you soon. I might never put this down.
The proceeding was sponsored by Liftoff Enterprises, LLC.